Like moths to a flame, you've thrown caution to the wind for a glimpse into our world. Well, now you're in it.
Welcome to Effed Up Stories.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of Effed Up Stories. I am your host, Will Pender.
And I am your co-host, Ryan Sharp.
And tonight, we're doing a fan submitted story. We haven't done that in a while. Actually, we haven't done a show in a while. Part of that, actually, we just uploaded the message, but long and short, sound card don't work. The thing that we've been using for the last 3 or 4 years. So you might have noticed that the audio quality is garbage right now. That's because I'm on a $30 headset. And for that reason, I very much hope that you'll go and listen to the other not episode, but the other video we just put up, which is a plea for donations so that we can continue and get back on our feet and do the show that we've always done. I mean, we are loose with our show, but a standard of quality is one thing that we've always kept. And we're just not going to. I want to throw something out there to throw you guys a bone. Like I've been itching to do new episodes, but I kind of cringe doing it on this thing. And this really is a band-aid situation. We just want to give you guys something in the meantime. But for us to get back in the game, I definitely want to get.
This is really the only solution that we've come up with until we sort out a new video card or sound card.
Exactly. We absolutely need to get a new audio card. But anyway, if you guys would be so kind as to donate, you can definitely do that on our official website. It's all through PayPal. It's all safe. We're just going to keep it up there. It's going to take as long as it takes. Whether people donate or not, we just can't move on until it's done. So as long as it takes. That said, we're going to do a fan submitted story tonight. And this one's sent in by Retailer, and it's titled Dark Infestation, by the way, if you want to read it on the official website. And yeah, so let's kick into what that is. So she starts off, she, like many of you guys, you bump into our podcast looking up other things, and everybody's got a story. Right? For a niche topic, I mean, we all experienced this paranormal thing, and her story is pretty neat. It's pretty out there, and we're gonna trot down the old trail of alien abduction implants and things of that nature. That's actually how she came across us. She came across an episode we did that was titled Alien Abduction Implants and Crossbreeding, and when she listened to the story, she tore up. Because she had very, very similar things happen to her as the lady in that story, and regarding her son. So, she just describes herself as a single mother of 4. She has, the oldest daughter that she has is 8. She has a 4-year-old son and 2 twin 3-year-old daughters. She's your average colored female. She raises kids in Grand Rapids, Michigan. When she sent the story, she said that she had just graduated school. They're normal people. They live their lives day to day, except with these little strange things that would, pepper You know, just like so many other people, these little strange experiences that seem to pepper their life. And for her, it was very similar to the lady in that podcast that urged her to send her story. And so, you know, one example here, a similarity that is between these two women is she also has a UID, which is a form of birth control. And she got that placed after she had her twins. And the one she has is good for 10 years. It's not exactly like a Marina, but, you know, it's a good alternative. But when things started to get really strange for her was, you know, not when she had her last kids, but when she had her son. And she said one night when he was still a baby, she had gotten out of bed to, you know, get in the, you know, somehow this little baby got out of his crib and, you know, all by himself. And, or maybe I'm screwing that up. Hang on a second. When he was a baby, she got out of bed to get him in the other room from his crib. Okay, he's in another room. She's getting out of bed to go get him. She took him. They sat in a rocking chair. She held him, and for some reason, you know, he started talking, but it was as if there was something more to it. She said that he started smiling, he started laughing, as if he was having this conversation. And she said he was only 2 months old at the time, and she recalls it being very strange. And she did, you know, she noticed or noted that he did this for at least 3 minutes. You know, this talking, like this baby talking, facial expressions. And it was very unusual to her, and it began to scare her. And as soon as she started to get very frightened from this, she noticed a black shadowy mass flew out from her son and off to her right side and then behind her. And she said, you know, behind her was where the wall was. And right after that, she noticed that her son went back to normal. So, you know, her son was acting very strange and out of character, almost as if he was communicating with something, I suppose. And as soon as she notices this black mass fly out of him, it's all candy and dandy again. So, you know, she's expressionless. She's kind of or the kid is gazing like a newborn. But she was very freaked out by this, and so much so, I mean, even though it's her child, you know, she faced him towards the window, you know, rather than have so she couldn't see his face. I mean, she just didn't want to look at him. So, you know, she was really freaked out. She emphasized that point. And just to add to that, you know, she had this very vivid dream after her son was born about his father. And she had told the father about this dream, but basically, in this dream, she remembers that he was there on the couch in somebody's house, and he had this very dense black smoke just oozing out of his mouth. And this father's mother was there, and she was standing up in front of him in disbelief with her hand on his shoulder. So it's almost as if this, you know, and we're going to draw some connections down the line, but just remember that the actual father of the boy has this black, thick fog oozing out of its mouth, and that's kind of what she witnessed her child. Just, you know, he was acting strange and it flies out of him. So, okay, strange, right? So anyway, let's move forward again. Her son's 4, and like a lot of other boys, you know, at that age, her son became obsessed with Spider-Man. And she don't even really know how that came to be, because he never watched it at home. But and he, you know, he's too young. He wasn't in school. He wasn't really around these other kids. The only thing that she could think of was that he would sometimes visit their little 5-year-old cousin, or his little 5-year-old cousin. So she assumed that maybe he had picked it up off of him. And anyway, you know, since then they know he likes it. You know, he's received Spider-Man boots, you know, a towel with Spider-Man on it, and, you know, just you know, Spider-Man movies and different, you know, mass-produced toys, I guess we'll say. But anyway, you know, this is just describing her kid, and we'll get to why that's strange in a minute. But after he started watching the Spider-Man movie, you know, and of course, which he loved, what became strange is that she began finding these little Spider-Man figures, like figurines or toys, and she never really knew where they came from, which she found was strange. But anyway, just little strange things like that. And so one day, her child falls asleep on the couch, and he has this, I guess, I don't know if it's a condition, but he's known to just fall asleep anywhere, in every kind of way. And she emphasizes that, saying that she got these dozens of pictures of him falling asleep, like on the welcome carpet when you walk in the house, in the bathroom, the kitchen, on the floor at her mom's. It's kind of like my wife. She lays her head down, that's it, she's gone. But anyway, while he was sleeping at this particular time, that in the story, she saw him there. She threw a blanket over him to keep him warm. Motherly instinct. And shortly after she had done this, he started to develop this rash on the white side of his body. And she only noticed it on his face at first, but as he was sleeping, he was also trying to itch his right leg with his left foot. So, he was irritated. He took the cover off, and that's when the mother noticed, or, re-noticed that it was on his whole right side. And he also developed this huge knot on his forehead. But, she let him sleep. He's sleeping. But when he woke up, this is like 20 minutes later, she asks him, are you okay? You got itchy. And he said, yeah, the big spider bite me. And then she asks, the spider bite you? Like what spider? And he says, yeah, it was on the covers. And he points to the blanket. And, he was asleep when she put him there. And, she took off the covers and everything like that. So she knew that he couldn't have known that she put the cover on him. He was asleep while this happened, and he turned over. He moved while sleeping, and the only thing he did was try to scratch his itch. And oddly enough, shortly before or after, she can't remember, she too fell asleep on the couch. So now they're both asleep on the couch, and then she has this dream, and in this dream there's a bunch of spiders and insects, and they were crawling all over the wall behind her and the couch. And ironically, in this dream, she was seeing herself asleep on the couch. So it's almost like she was her dream was as if she was a third person staring at herself in real life, sleeping on the couch, but there's spiders and insects everywhere. And in this dream, she jumps up to grab her kids as she watches a bunch of these spiders and insects just crawl all over the wall and into the closet where the water heater is located in the living room. And her son had woken up many times after this event, after this dream and everything like that, and every time he'd wake up, he'd have these huge knots on his body, his arm, his face. And every time she asked him what happened, he would say, the spider bite me, just like this time from before. So like we got all these separate incidences now where he's sleeping, and she notices that he has these strange marks on his body, whether it's a rash or it's a knot, like it would look like a bite,
like a welt, I guess.
Yeah, like a welt. And each time that this happens and she asks him what it is, he says, the spider bite me. He's a child. That's the most that he can do to articulate what's actually happening to him. And she doesn't know what to say, because it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to her. And she says that it seems so genuine and matter of fact the way that he says it, that it scares her. And another incident that happened was when he was 1 and 2. He would get these anger spells, and she just could not shake him out of it, no matter what she tried. Like he would just be crying and screaming and shaking so bad that we're not talking about the normal fits that kids have. We're talking like magnitudes worse than that. So much so that she was afraid that he was possessed. And in one of these times, she had actually called her mom over. But before she even made it, Ree was literally on the kitchen floor with her son, trying to console him, trying to get him out of this angry rage. And she said when she screamed the name Jesus, It's like he fell on her. He just collapsed instantly. He stopped, and she just hugged him, and he fell asleep. And apparently, he has done this with Ree's mom. His grandmother, when he spent the night with her. So again, this is a strange thing, because usually we hear this with possession, right? You mention Jesus' name, the authority, and it scares the darkness away. So that's a strange thing. So she says that's her son. That's the kind of things that she's been dealing with him. But she's also had these strange experiences, and again, she draws these parallels to the lady in that other podcast that we did. And some examples of this is that she has woken up with a triangular rash, or a mark that was outlined in small bumps on her arm. She too has felt like she's pregnant to the point where she can feel something in her stomach, like a baby kicking, but she's not. She's had her, she's even put her hand on her stomach where she would feel the movement, and it's like she felt a kick, like she could feel this like she would with a baby. And it's not like this is she wouldn't know. I mean, she's had kids, she knows the feeling and what it feels like, and I would assume that a mother knows that. So anyway, Ree asked her mom a couple months ago, prior to sending this story, and why her stomach, because her stomach had actually gotten big, like what happened when you're pregnant. And she asked her mother, how is this strange? Like, I'm not pregnant. How could this happen? And her mother didn't know. And at first, Ree chalked this up to gaining weight. But in a span of a month, we're not changing diet, not changing anything. She's lost whatever it was. She's flat stomach again. It's almost as if she was showing as if pregnant and feeling pregnant, and then within a very short time, not. It's not like a miscarriage. There's nothing that she could notice that that could explain this. And she says that, like, she has 4 kids. She has a small frame. She's 160 pounds, 5'5". She has a flat stomach. She really doesn't make sense of this, but she's gone through these strange periods like that, and it's as if sometimes she's gaining weight, but her stomach feels flat. And for a period of time, it was significantly bigger, and then again gone. So she went and saw the gynecologist, I guess to get her IUD checked, and she said that was September 11th of this year, and everything was good. She's not pregnant. She has her regular periods. She has, but she has these crazy pregnancy symptoms that subside, just like the lady in our other podcast. And of course, if you're wondering what the hell this all means, it's that when it comes to waking up with strange markings on your body, specifically if they're shaped unusually, the body has a tendency that it doesn't make marks on its own that are like a design. You're not going to get a pyramid or a pentagram or something like that. She had a triangular shape, weird bumps. It's not natural the way that she got it. And tying that to the feeling pregnant and even looking pregnant and having these symptoms and then not being pregnant, the whole point that she's trying to get at here is the possibility of alien, I guess, interbreeding is what I get from this. So I mean, that's something that happened with her there, and she's had all kinds of trouble sleeping. It's almost as if she says her like, even when she's dead tired and she goes to sleep, she can't stay asleep for more than 4 hours at a time. She's tried doing that melatonin thing. This is a supplement, by the way. I know people actually who have done that. Kind of substitutes when you're not getting enough sunlight, so that you can regulate your sleeping. That didn't work. So she doesn't really understand why she's having these issues, and here are a couple other people, and specifically this woman from this other story, same situation. They're both having it, and I guess that's why it screamed out to her so loudly. And lastly, before Ree had her twins, her daughter knew that she was pregnant, and she woke her daughter up one morning, and the first thing she said is that, are you having a baby? And she told her no, and she said, well, God told me that you were having a baby. And Ree said she was stunned, because she was pregnant. She knew she was, but she never told anybody because she was actually planning to have an abortion. So it's very strange that the kid would know that. And the only reason why she ended up not going through with it is because she found out that it was twins, and she just couldn't go through with it. So lastly, she just wants to, I guess, give some perspective on this. She tries not to be scared. She prays. She's a very spiritual person. She doesn't dabble. She has an interest, I guess, in some of this stuff. But obviously, if she's watching our podcast, but she never done anything in the occult. She's never, basically, she's not in a environment where that should really happen. So that's her story, and I mean, let's just go over that a little bit.
Well, I gotta say, personally, myself, one of the most interesting aspects of the alien phenomena, UFO abduction phenomenon, for me is the idea of the hybridization program. It's the only thing that gives us any indication of why they're coming here or what they want. You think of everything, all the different experiences with this phenomenon. Lights in the sky, they're landing in fields, strange crop circles, they're
climbing in your windows and snatching your people up.
Yeah, apparently. Animal mutations, none of it makes any sense. None of it gives us a hint or clue as to the, I will preface as saying, who knows what the truth is when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. But let's take at face value that we're being visited, that there are extraterrestrials coming here in spacecraft of some sort. So all the other phenomenon, crop circles, animal mutilations, the sightings, the landings, it really gives us no indication of what's going on. But the implantation of devices in the human body, along with, you think, just us, we've had several stories come to us about possible alien-human hybridization. Worldwide, the stories number in the thousands. So if we have thousands of people who are being abducted, having medical devices implanted in them, having or being artificially inseminated with who knows what, what always happens in these cases. Oh well, the majority, at least that I know of, is that the fetus is never allowed to go full term inside of the mother.
They're probably abducted again, and the fetus taken by the aliens, and then the person sent back, or it could be a study. But I want to throw something out there that I know neither one of us subscribe to. It's not something that either.
I know exactly where you're going, but
I only want to throw it out there because it is a topic that comes up time and time again, even on our own videos. Anytime we talk about aliens, and that is, I'm going to go right back to when Ree's son was having these very angry fits, and she scared it away by using Jesus' name. authority, because a lot of people, there is a school of people, and I'm sure they're going to chime in on this video, that believe that aliens are demonic in nature. And for the most part, when we do see this using Jesus' name as authority to scare something away, is to do with possession or something with related to demonology. Okay, so to see this as an example in a supposed, everything else about the story sounds more alien related, right? Everything else about this sounds alien related. Yeah. So is there a connection there? And then the other question I had, to take it even on a further outreach of topic, is, okay, and I'm saying this as someone who's very, I don't know what I think, okay, I'm kind of spitballing here, but if you look in the Bible, they describe humans as being in the image of God. We're built in God's image, and even in terms of like the angels and anything else, it's like we're the ones that are in His image, that have this. We're supposed to be non-interfered with here on Earth. This is like it's supposed to be our laboratory of sorts. It's our bubble. We're not. It's almost like this cosmic law. Demons aren't allowed to interfere with us. It's like a written rule or unwritten rule that God and Satan has agreed on. As opposed to aliens too. Aliens are not known. We've never seen anything that said aliens are made in God's image. Again, we have a different species per se that again, like it's not supposed to interfere with us. And
well, there are a few strange precedences that seem to link the extraterrestrial phenomenon to spirituality, and there's at least one case that I've read about or heard about. I'm not sure which one it was, whether it was an interview I listened to or a story I had read, where there was a extraterrestrial being interrogated by the government, and
I know what you're going to go.
We found it extremely difficult. Apparently, according to this source, it was extremely difficult to have a conversation about anything. Like their thinking process and our thinking process are just so different that even basic communication was very difficult. But the one area where they could converse on was talking about spirituality, and I thought that was bizarre. But I guess for myself, I'm not a overly spiritual person. If it does turn out that there is in fact this whole spiritual divine realm that does exist, well, it almost certainly is not human exclusive. So if there are entities from other planets or even dimensions coming here, and they may be fully aware of this whole spiritual realm. Now, they may not use words like God and Jesus and demons and Satan and the Dajjal and the Jinn and Allah and all the human words, but the interpretation might be the same. These things might have a similar meaning right across the board, and maybe just like there's probably billions of other species of intelligent creatures all throughout the Milky Way galaxy, and the universe as a whole. Maybe there is a whole family, a whole pantheon of deities and gods in the realms beyond.
That's exactly what I wanted to jump in with here for a second, because honestly, when I read, I actually tried, I read through the Bible like a year or two ago, just so that when people were asking questions about this stuff, I kind of had like some kind of, it was in the back of my mind that I could respond with. I kind of knew what they were talking about to an extent. And in religion, especially Christianity, don't you often hear like, there's one God, right? There's one God and that's it.
Well,
right?
Even then there is a precedent, right? There's that time when God says to Moses, you shall not worship other gods.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is that like it's an oxymoron in itself to say that there's not other gods, and then have in the Bible, which is true because I read it, thou shalt not worship other gods, and then it makes me think, if you can use God's name and authority to drive out aliens who are interfering, demons who are interfering, basically anything that's not supposed to be interfering in the human bubble, which is Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible that other planets have different gods that rule over it, right? And, we're not to interfere with it. Almost as if, different planets or galaxies or dimensions, if you will, has a different god who created it and the creatures on it. And, it's like this unwritten agreement between all of these different gods and rulers that, this is my experiment. I won't interfere with yours if you don't interfere with mine. And vice versa. And every now and then, gods, I guess, like people, if we're to look at our example, we're built in the image of our God, even though, we preach as perfect, God is perfect.
Well, that's only New Testament God. Old Testament God was wrathful and violent, vengeful, and the
fear in God is what we're supposed to have, which, by the way, I don't know if I want to worship someone if I gotta fear them. That's not the way I prefer to look in that direction. But anyway, if you have this kind of a relationship, it throws a lot of things on its head for me.
Well, here's another way to look at it. This is a topic that I've mulled over in my head extensively, and we like to, we're human beings, and as human beings, we have to put names on everything, categorize everything, and figure out how it all fits into our worldview. No matter how skewed and fucked up that worldview is, we try to categorize things, and so we have all these different phenomena, right? And like for me personally, I've always asked the question, what the hell is the difference between an alien and an angel and a demon? The only thing we have to go off of in terms of demons and angels are all the biblical stories, and those are stories told from a certain perspective on that comes from the past. Right? There's no concept of technology or other planets or of other dimensions. We're currently studying in physics, the many worlds theory. That not to mean worlds as in planets, but it's a many dimensions theory. So if we have visitors coming from other planets, they may be flesh and blood like us with nuts and bolts spacecraft that we might be able to build ourselves one day, or some people claim that we're already building, and we might also be visited by not so conventional life forms. We see this term a lot of the times when people are quoting, government sources. Another name for aliens, ETs, but what's the most recent one people use? EBs, extraterrestrial biological entities. Well, if they have to state specifically, again, taking these reports at face value, citation needed, but taking it at face value, if we have to go so far as to say extraterrestrial biological entity, then perhaps there are extraterrestrial non-biological entities, extraterrestrial, immaterial entities, and that's where I think it very easily we could transition into this crossover with fringe scientific beliefs like those of visiting extraterrestrials and into spiritual beliefs. So if we're being visited by physical entities, perhaps we're being visited by non-physical entities from other dimensions, other planes of existence, and that could very well explain the demonic and angelic aspects that we ascribe to certain beings that we've had contact with over the last 2,000 years. And in that way, there could very well be rules and systems in place that govern interaction between these entities and our world and us.
Okay, and moving back to an earlier point that I totally glossed over that I kind of want to bring up now and see what you think of it. Do you not find it strange that the little boy in the story, so he's obsessed with Spider-Man, right? He's a kid. When I was a kid, it was Ghostbusters for me.
Yeah, me too.
All the cool kids love Ghostbusters, but anyway, I find it funny that he would wake up, with these welts and with these rashes, and his explanation was that a spider bit him. I don't know. Like,
I actually have a little take on that as well.
Okay.
So, here we have this situation with this kid who he keeps waking up with these welts and marks on his body, rashes and coming out of nowhere. And there's at least one instance where this kid is having this attack, this invisible attack on this person, where he's being covered in a rash and little bumps are popping up on him, and his mother falls asleep next to him, and all of a sudden she's having this quote unquote dream where she's watching herself. Well, that sounds like an OBE to me, right?
Yeah, okay.
All of a sudden she's standing in the living room looking. Now, arguably, an OBE is according to some people's definition, is when you're still alive, but you leave your body and at least get 1 foot into the spirit world. Well, while she's standing there in her living room in the spirit world, her house is filled with fucking an infestation of insects.
And that usually, by the way, is something you see a lot with cursed objects and items. Insects will, pile up in that area. Like I remember,
swarm, like the Dybbuk box.
Like the Dybbuk box, right? Like wherever that thing was put, insects would just be swarming all over it. And that's true for all kinds of cursed items. And again, like when you look at curses, I mean, no, it's not always demonic, but it often is. And one little connection that I want to put there, because like when people say dreams, like, oh, it's a bad dream, it's a nightmare. Well, dreams are more than that, because sometimes, for one thing, they can foreshadow events. They can be precognitive. They can also, like, our brains are great at filtering information, right? There's things that we see that we don't see, really. We don't acknowledge. For me, for example, and I'm famous for this. My wife, it drives her crazy. I'll go to the fridge, and I'm looking for something, and it's not right in front of me. It's like, I'm like, Brittany, where's this or where's that? It's right there, and I'm like, I don't see it. I'm getting all pissed off and frustrated, and she comes out and grabs it. It's literally right in front of my face, because I was looking for a red bottle or something like that, but it happened to be yellow, and my brain just filters it right out.
Yeah, so, and one example that I love to use with people with this is, just to illustrate how much information your brain filters out. So we have 5 senses, and they're constantly being bombarded with, textual information, audio information, visual, olfactory, and taste. What's that? Gustatory. Anyway, the point being is, what's something that you have in your hand a lot? Be your TV remote, right?
Yeah.
It is literally something that most people have in their hand for an extensive period of time every day. Now, off the top of your head, without looking at it, how many buttons are on that remote? You have no idea. Nobody has any idea how many buttons are on the remote. You have it in your hand every day. You look at it every day, but your brain, all on its own, without any input from you, has decided, nope, the number of buttons on this remote is useless information, and it just automatically filters that out. Now, that is happening not just with things like the number of buttons on a remote,
but like tons of things.
It's happening with all kinds of visual input, all kinds of audio input, and all kinds of tactile input. So, you have probably terabytes worth of information just being fucking wiped from your random access memory, to use computer analogies, constantly, because your brain is like, no, like, there's a capacity here, and we're not filling it with
garbage, stuff that don't matter.
Useless bits of information. Our brains have been trained over the course of 200,000 years to survive in a flesh and blood world. Unfortunately for us, at this point, we're in a state where we don't need to worry so much about being trampled by woolly mammoths and eaten by saber-toothed tigers. That was for a long time. That was the biggest worry. Was being eaten by a predator or something like that.
Now the biggest worry is, can we eat?
It's what are we going to eat? We spend more time agonizing over what to pick out on the menu. But because we're not forced to worry about all these things, we seek. Well, it's not just we seek, but I think that it's a byproduct of our lifestyles, is that as we're being less and less worried about the physical world in terms of our personal safety. Our personal safety for most of us is pretty well guaranteed in a day-to-day setting. You might be a little more aware when you're in rush hour traffic on the highway or something, but then when you get home and you flop down on the couch and you keep seeing something, a dark shadow going by the side of your vision, and you keep looking and you're like, what the hell is that? Well, maybe now this is a byproduct of our new way of life, is that as time goes on, we've had 200,000 years of training our brain to ignore all these non-physical things and worry about only the physical world.
Well, I think to elaborate on that even further, while that's true, like the evolution of mankind over all of these years, I do think that we also we have the ability to experience certain things, but the way we live, like just life as a human, as you grow up, your brain adapts just like it has over 1,000 years. But even in the short life, it adapts to only focus on what's important, because a lot of children can apparently they have a sixth sense that adults don't normally do, and the ones that grow up to have these psychic abilities and whatnot are more likely to be kids that either they inherited some of their gifts through their family, but also I think that they noticed the stuff at a young age and continued to use it, utilize that ability, or they made note of it. Even if they weren't taught it and they weren't it wasn't explained to them what it was, they knew to an extent that it was normal to them, and they kept it alive, right? Whereas the rest of us, we're whisked off to school, and everything is just kind of rammed down your throat. It's like, this is how life works, teach, this is how it is, and you just filter everything else out, right? And the point I was trying to get there, just like the spiritual world, like we're saying that, like, it's there, but we're going to filter it out. It's not important to us. We live in the physical world. But this connection here that I'm making just from the story is, you got this father. She dreamt it. This is where we get back to where I was getting, like, the dreams. Well, just like our brains filter out certain things that aren't important to us, our brains also know there's certain things that we can't handle mentally, and our brains will sometimes, it needs to process the information. It needs to process it. That's why we sleep. It needs to process information. And so sometimes things that it knows that we can't handle, as a safety mechanism, it will do it while we sleep in a dream state. So some of it is through symbology. Some of it is like literally a memory. So when I look at Ree and her dreaming of the father of the boy and this black, I guess wispy smoke coming out of his mouth. I mean, we already know it's always perceived like that, as like a negative energy, right? I mean, if we're going to talk tulpas, if we're going to talk, negative energies, it's always like this dark mass, right? Even Shadow Man, you're in a pitch black bedroom, and what do you notice? You notice a form that's blacker than black. It manages to be blacker than everything in your room, with no lights, no windows, right? Well, just like that, and you sense it too. I mean, it's part of the reason we assume it's evil a lot of times, that we get a bad sense from these lower vibrational beings. That's from psychics and people who delve into this stuff. So when Rhea's having this dream, is it more than a dream? Is she seeing that this guy was possibly involved in the certain things? Was she getting a look at almost like an ESP, like sensing that this guy was involved with something negative, and through him it was attached to her son, and in this experience that he was having with these almost possession-like episodes, is that something that he inherited or was attached to him from his father, right?
Well, it's certainly possible. Now, my personal take on that aspect of the story, I think, for me, this story definitely comes off as a extraterrestrial biological entity story. There are some spiritual aspects to it, but I've never heard of a hybrid demon program. It's always an alien hybrid program, and it seems to be connected with technology, and perhaps in the connection with spirituality in this sense is that something or someone is warning her and showing her, look, dad was part of the program too, right? Your son is being targeted because his father had those, whatever it was, genetics, maybe it's we often see the abduction phenomenon is one that's inherited. Not to say that you inherit your mother's abductors, is that whoever's doing the abducting is doing it generationally.
Yeah.
So we might be seeing in this case, and maybe the black object, the black smoke, is a is some kind of a visual a side effect of a piece of remote technology that's being used. That's where the mystery with these topics comes in, is that we have no idea. The possession phenomenon, one day we might discover, is nothing more than somebody using a very advanced piece of technology that can interface with the human motor cortex and the basal ganglia and get right into the deepest, darkest centers of the human brain and take control using technology. Oh, I mean, we might find out that the opposite is true. That technology is not involved here. That it's an act of spiritual aggression or assault, or even more likely, we may never discover the truth.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so for you guys listening, like, I don't even know where I lean, but truthfully, Ryan, to me, I almost see like two separate things going on. I feel like, her feeling pregnant and having these, showing the symptoms and having like the feeling of an implant and stuff like that. To me, that's all alien abduction, possibly, within connection. Whereas the possession-like aspects and that whole thing, I see as a completely separate issue that possibly could be demonic in nature. And again, like, this is just another of so many examples where someone who experiences something paranormal experiences many different kinds, right? It's not just one thing. It's like they draw it to them in some way. Like most people who have a paranormal experience, it's not one. It's always a handful, and they're not always related.
It's a series of complicated, multifaceted phenomenons and experiences, and it just goes to show that for decades, research into the paranormal and both spiritual and otherworldly has been very segmented. This guy studies vampires, this guy studies aliens, this guy studies ghosts, and these people over here they study demons. When time and time again, we see a whole myriad of seemingly separate categories of supernatural, abnormal phenomenon across all the genres, all happening in one spot. Somebody sees a ghost in the woods and they go in with a camera and they get a Bigfoot sighting while UFOs are flying overhead. What the hell?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's some dogs in trench coats smoking cigars watching.
Oh God! Like, how do you explain that, right? How do you even do that with a straight face and expect anyone to believe it? I mean, you and I read the strangest of the strange, but I mean, that's even strange for us, right? So, it's a crazy world out there, and again,
we want to read and hear more.
We do. We love it because, let's face it, real life sucks, and well, it's generally pretty boring and bland.
Everyday life. Every day
does. In fact, to bring this on a note of video games, to quote Steve Smith from American Dad, I was like, well, why do you play video games? Well, you see, in real life, things often suck. So, in a video game, like, you get that sense of wonder or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, the paranormal, I almost need it because just getting up and going to work every day and blah, it's really not that exciting. But anyway, guys, I'm sure that's true for you guys because that's why you listen to us. You like the paranormal too. So we definitely want to hear your stories. We got lots we're having to cover, especially because of our break here. But we definitely want all of your effed up stories that you can send us, pictures, video, whatever. You can submit it at our official site. It's effedupstories.com. That's EFFEDUPSTORIES.com. And to just reinstate, the audio quality sucks. Nothing I can do about it right now. I don't have my audio interface. I'm on a $30 headset. I can't even mix the damn thing because I can't hook my studio monitors into it. So we really need your donations to get back on our feet here, to get a new audio interface. Again, you can do that at the official website that I just listed off. I'm going to have a link in the description, annotation link, and just go to the official website. You'll see it on the front page there. We really need that an audio interface to get back in the game. If nobody donates, well, we'll try to do it on our own, but we just don't know when we'll have the money to do it. And we're not going to keep putting out episodes on this little crappy headset because I don't feel real good throwing it out there. I just want to throw you guys a bone, to give you something while we're trying to get this straightened away. So anyway, I do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope we get back to where we're doing 3 of these a week. And again, if you guys help us out, it'll be quicker. So that said, thanks for listening. Catch you guys next time.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.